첫 시즌인 거에 비해서 높이 올라왔긴 했지만
경험이 없어서 좀 그런 부분 좀 미숙하지 않았나.
작년까지만 해도 좀 1등 놓고 이제 다 경쟁하면서 이렇게 했는데 강등권 누가 가냐 이렇게 경쟁하니까 너무 좀 심적으로 되게 힘들었었는데
신랑년도 처음 가보고 연패도 많이 해보고 하다 보니까 좀 힘들었던 것 같아요.
아쉬웠죠? 그 플레이오프 못 가서. 네.
3위라는 성적을 거두긴 했지만 플레이오프에서 충분히 이길 수 있었던 경기였다고 생각하고
질 줄은 몰랐는데 3대 0으로 져서 좀 아쉬웠던 것 같아요.
그냥 스프링 시즌 때 저희가 솔직히 우승할 줄은 몰랐는데 이렇게 좋은 결과를 내서 만족스럽고요. 굉장히 얻은 것도 많은 것 같습니다.
쉬다 보니까 그리워지기도 하더라고요. 새로 시작하는 마음가짐으로 하는 거라서
진짜 좀 간절하고 이번에는 자신감도 좀 생기고.
일단 우승이에요. 다른 선수들도 다 마찬가지일 거예요.
아무리 준우승 계속해도 결승전 계속 가다 보면 언젠간 우승하겠죠라는 마인드로.
반대로 저희도 롤드컵 갈 수 있는 거잖아요.
30살이 되기 전에 롤드컵 무대를 좀 밟아보고 싶거든요.
진짜 무조건 가야 돼서 그냥 목숨을 걸고 롤드컵 꼭 가겠습니다.
꼭 우승하고 싶고요. 저희가 궁극적인 목표는 롤드컵이기 때문에 이번 서머 시즌부터 기량을 차근차근 올려나가야 될 것 같습니다.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Summer 2019. We're finally up to our second series of the night. Thank you so much for sticking with us. I know it has been a very, very long break, and that is because KT won too quickly over GenG. It was not necessarily quick when it came to game number 2. However, a 2-0 will often leave us waiting a little bit longer. So thank you very much for your patience. I'm still Atlas, this is still Papa Smithy. And we're into our second matchup, GenG taking on DAMWON Gaming, which could be a little bit more interesting.
Feels a bit like a premier matchup if GenG can actually have the rubber hit the road and actually turn what is now a much more large roster into a successful one. GenG and making the World Championship are intertwined the last 3 years, of course. They made it to the finals twice in a row, and then they forgot what happened in 2018. We'll see what happens in 2019 for GenG, because no circuit points from Spring.
Exactly. Also barely making it out of that relegation zone. KT was the unlucky one, but FLICKR and GenG were very close to falling down there with them. DAMWON, though, will be heading to Rift Rivals, so the first Rift Rivals qualified team is going to be debuting here for Summer, and we'll see what changes they have made. As you saw before, if you were watching our earlier segment before our first match, you did see a few of the roster changes, but not too many of them for DAMWON Gaming.
Some words between the two
안녕하세요.
teams.
이번에 젠지 e스포츠 합류하게 된 성환
미드라이너로 들어온 쿠잔 이성혁입니다.
젠지가 그렇게 순위가 안 나올 줄은 조금 몰랐던 것 같아요. 너무 예상 외에 낮은 순위였어가지고 진짜 충격적이었어요.
그래도 제가 왔으니까 성적 잘 나오지 않을까요?
미드는 뭐 쇼메이커가 어차피 이겨줄 거라서 누가 나오든 상관 안 하죠.
펀치 선수도 제가 많이 상대해본 선수인데 그렇게 막 어려운 문제는 없을 거라 생각해서.
이렇게 말해도 되나? 피너 선수가 나오잖아요.
아, 사실 저도 펀치 선수 생각하기보다는 캐니언 선수 생각해서.
그렇게 말했다고요? 룰러요. 아무래도 이제 국대원들 룰러브. 솔로 랭크도 되게 잘하시고 일단 팀 내 에이스, 확실한 에이스 라인이고 인정받은 원딜이잖아요.
뉴클리어 선수가 전혀 안 될 것 같아서. 네.
저도 최근에 막 천점 찍고 그랬었거든요. 저는 할만하다고 생각해요. 재밌을 것 같아요.
재혁이가 워낙 잘하는 선수라서.
룰러 형에 대해 잘 알고 있으니까 잡기도 쉬울 거라고 생각해요. 저번 시즌처럼 두드러 맞을 준비하고 왔으면 좋겠어요.
그 친구가 나올 수 있을까 잘 모르겠는데 그 친구가 나올 수 있을까 잘 모르겠네요. 궁금합니다. 좀.
저희 실력 딱 판단할 수 있는 딱 좋은 상대인 것 같아요.
저희가 혹시 못 잡을 팀은 절대 아니라고 생각해서.
저희가 한 2대1로 승리? 1승은 하게
해줘야죠.
가을에 젠지를 의식을 안 할 수는 없잖아요. 약간 가을에 전어처럼. 일단은 의식하고 있으려고.
꼭 2대0으로 가뿐히 이기겠습니다.
저희가 스프링 때 담원한테 좀 좋은 모습 보여드리지 못했는데 이번 썸머에는 꼭 이기겠습니다, 담원전.
Well, them some fighting words, Papa Smithy, but we'll see who's actually going to be getting it right. It was really good to hear from Kuzan yet again now donning the GenG outfit, but DWG Gaming also saying that they're not entirely sure who's going to be playing in almost any of the roles, apart from Ruler in the AD carry position.
And there's some confusing ones. Mid lane, Kuzan, Fly, and of course the HOTS Convert Rich are all named in the roster and thus all could play on any given day. Talking about the historic results, because in spring season, GenG could not win a single game against DAMWON Gaming. 4-0 DAMWON Gaming domination of GenG. Now KT taking their first step against GenG Green Wings, we should mention.
Yep.
GenG, if they could win today, it would show that some of those 2018 Worlds organizations who have ramped up with their rosters in summer are definitely here to play.
Yeah, it's the trinity of GenG, KT, and of course the Africa Freaks as well, who we'll be seeing later on in the week, that we'll have our eyes on for getting a bit more of that evolution into their play style. GenG will see exactly what they've done and who they're going to be fielding here today. GenG's shocking result of the spring split wasn't so shocking after the first round robin, to be honest.
The KFC trio is what the Koreans are calling it because Rich happens to have a C in the name.
Yeah, that is a reach. That is definitely a reach.
Hey, we live in Korea. Some of those business names are epic reaches, so
that's true.
There should be no surprise that they're liberal with how it's not KFR like every English person would say here. If you're going to choose something, it's KFC.
Right.
Why do you reckon they chose KFC? What's significant about that?
Korean fried chicken?
What?
Korean fried chicken, KFC.
Maybe.
That's what it stands for, doesn't it?
I guess so.
Yeah, I think so.
You know what GenG stand for? They stand for Ruler, basically.
They do.
35.5% damage share. First among all 80 carries. No surprise that when we go across the top side metrics, Nuguri was the top lane carry, so top first spot when it comes to their big carries in spring.
Yep, and there were a few 80 carries that had numbers similar to this, and there were two top laners that had numbers similar to this. It was Nuguri, and it was, of course, Keen as well from the Africa Freaks doing so much of a damage share.
And Ruler and Deft on the side of the 80 carries. Ruler had an amazing season in spring, but not found in team results, because unfortunately, the rest of his charges needed upgrades, and whether that's some time away to practice or whether that's some new names coming in, we just want to get into the tunnel and see which damn roster they're running with, because GenG have a wealth of options.
Yeah, exactly right. DWG have the same wealth of options that they had previously. Interesting to see their bottom lane, it will be BeryL, but on the other side, you can see Kuzan is going to be starting here for GenG, and Peanut will retain his spot in the jungle. No Songwon to come in for at least game number 1, and CuVee over Roach for top side of the map is another surprise to some people.
But we have no idea what to make of configurations. All we know is just where we're starting. Start of the season, Kuzan will be starting. Was the ace of the ES Shocks. He was the ace of Challengers in spring season, a superstar in that league. The two big players in Challengers were Mickey and Kuzan, both of them out of Challengers, only one of them still in Korea. Kuzan, take a bow. Very good to see GenG in, and there's none of that baggage. And honestly, for GenG, they had the weird reality of being Kesper Cup finalists, feeling really good about themselves, and then going on a losing streak that really set up the tone for their spring season.
Exactly, but there wasn't as much losing done over the side of DWG Gaming, and it was that man on the top side of the map that really wowed people towards the early stages of the season. Flame had to come in and bring some more stability to this roster, but it looks like they may have figured themselves out a little bit in the off-season, because they are running the young gun on the top side as Nuguri retains that spot, as we were talking about. But BeryL being in instead of Hoyt is very interesting. You heard him be very vocal in the trash talk earlier on, but BeryL is going to come through, and his most played was the Tahm Kench, which is most likely not going to be playing unless he decides to go with what GenG decided to lose with in game number 1 against KT.
Hoyt was the established starter in spring, but BeryL's actually ranked 2 in solo queue right now, so I think he's being rewarded for his grinding. If you're wondering who's number 1, it's Tarzan again.
Yeah,
he's back up there at the top, but a lot of 1000 LP plus players. We saw Nuclear speaking about that. Ruler's up there as well. A lot of people in form, and I just feel like GenG could be anything. Like GenG are my choice for Dark Horse for summer. unlikely they're going to win the whole thing because it feels like SKT and Griffin might be too far to scale, but I could see them scaling from out of playoff contention to third. Like, that could happen.
Yeah, I think
Kingzone were a step above, and now Kingzone are kind of in flux with On being removed so late in the piece. It feels like top 3 is up for grabs.
Yeah, there's certainly someone that's going to take Kingzone's place. I think that's almost a guarantee. However, we are yet to see them play. So far this season, could be that Neon has actually found himself as we look forward to that. But right now, we've got GenG to try and get their redemption arc on track, and it needs to start here against some stiff opposition and against really a monkey that's been on their back for quite some time, unable to pick up any sort of positive matchup against DAMWON. And I'm actually really excited just to see what the changes are going to bring to this squad, because it felt like GenG were playing if Fly didn't get Lissandra without a mid laner. That was just what GenG felt like.
And Kuzan has his eclectic picks like Fly, but also plays the meta stuff better than most. So I think
also
Kuzan
had an incredible challenger split.
To me, this is a big skill upgrade, bringing Kuzan onto us. And it's not a Fly insult, it's the fact that you need to be more of a generalist in the meta right now. You need to play the Flex Assassins, for example. And I feel like Kuzan fits that a lot closer, but we also know he loves his mid lane Lucian. That was the big pick for him back in the promotion tournament.
Of course, Corki is his most played of all time as well and can still pick that one up potentially, but Yumi is going to be the first ban here from DAMWON's side. Aatrox should follow as Talia is taken away from Canyon and ShowMaker.
It is a big Canyon pick, and there's been a lot of Talia. If you
so much, yeah.
Go over to op.gg, if you go over to something like Pro Builds and Filter by Korea, there's some eclectic picks. For example, Camille mid is quite big. In recent memory, Talia all over the place is happening. Yumi doesn't need explanation. The Silas going to be alongside the Aurelia, 2 of the 5 big picks from MSI taken off the board. We'll see if the Jace respect is there, because it wasn't during the course of our first series.
Feels like Ryze and Aatrox are going to be the champions that'll be top docket. GenG are going to ban the Ryze on blue side. We'll see whether DAMWON can find that Aatrox pick. Currently 100% ban before today's LPL games.
I'm a bit of a contrarian.
It's now open.
I think Aatrox is really interesting, but I'm not sure he's super broken like people think, because yes, he does some things well, but there's other areas he doesn't as well. We know a lot already, surprisingly.
And also, DAMWON did not waste any time there at all.
Oh yeah, we're doing, I think Camille's hunting Aatrox, and we got a Sejuani jump. Very hard to see anything else happening here, even though we've already mentioned that there's some shenanigans involving Camille mid in solo rank.
Yeah, it's actually really cool that Camille is now a flex pick. Moving into this draft, as Ruler's going to go back to an old favorite as the Ezreal is locked in.
Are we going to do full GenG?
I hope third round Ezreal Tahm Kench is like the most GenG you can ever be.
But Tahm Kench is pretty good against the 2 picks they have, funnily enough.
But he's pretty not good.
I know where you're at, but this is like a
This is a roughie. This is a roughie, as our friends in the OPL would say. Peanut's going to go back to his old favorite, though, as Lee Sin is locked in by Kuzan. So that will be the jungle Lee Sin for Peanut, and that support position is still up in the air. ShowMaker to now round out our first round of picks, and Tahm Kench is picked away, Papa Smithy.
Thank God.
Where am I?
Well, you're in Korea, and we still love our Tahm Kench, even though he got quite the love tap on patch 9.9.
That was a love backhand, Papa Smithy. That was not, it's not the kind of thing you want to see.
Well, we're going to zoom in onto what we do see. And Peanut's Lee Sin, usually something to trumpet. Ruler and a great Ezreal player as well. Does mean no ambiguity. It feels like the jungle Aatrox was the first thought after the changes, and jungle Aatrox is not going to be considered now that Lee Sin's on the board. Speaking of on the board, mid lane bans. Kuzan's kind of historic, because you mentioned the Corki. To me, he's a Lucian, a Vlad, a LeBlanc player. Those are the champions. And Lissandra also through many different metas. Those are the big ones for him historically.
Karma, of course.
Well, I mean, that's
play
a different
rate,
kind of
season before.
That's a different kind of memorable Kuzan champion. But it's cool to see Kuzan back, and he'll be facing Jinna, no doubt, sometime this season. Yasuo ban going to go to ShowMaker. Good synergy with the Sejuani.
Yeah, actually, I respect that. Yukali taken off the board here as the Sona is instantly locked. Oh, God.
We're doing it. We're going LPL style here. Sona, Tahm Kench, bot lane, that I am a noted not lover of, is going to be coming out in this game. So we had no Sona Taric in Korea. That was the stat. First Sona Taric game involving a Korean team was not very long. It was less than 16 minutes. People remember that one.
That's a famous one, actually. As
mid lane Vladimir.
We're looking at mid lane Vladimir potentially, but no, it's going to be the Lissandra. Could still be flexed towards the top side, Papa. Don't get ahead of yourself too far.
But they're both super Kuzan champions. So
that is very true. And what is our
Sticking to
support
what he
going
knows.
to be, unless the Lysandra is flexed into support as well? I mean, I guess there's that theory that we had almost the entirety of the spring split that never happened, but Braum Ezreal is something that GenG is no stranger to, and they are going to lock that one in.
They could also just lock Tarek here and start some shenanigans Tahm Kench top, right? But they're not gonna.
There's Fiora.
They're gonna put Nuguri onto his Fiora. Fiora versus Aatrox is even more Fiora favorite now after the nope button of just ulting to get out of a sticky situation is gone.
Yeah.
Remember, that ult is pretty broken when you get the first kill in a 1v1. You know, it's either gonna be icing on top of the cake that's already delicious, or it's not gonna be relevant. So Nuguri's gonna be hunting the Aatrox on the top side.
And also her most recent buff is actually relevant here as well, with the fact that concussive blows is now completely blocked by the riposte
And we get
instead
the
of just
Camille
stalled.
mid as well. We didn't even talk about it. We papered over it, but Camille mid, a big pick in Korean solo queue recently into a lot of different matchups, specifically melee ones like Silas. It's going to be into the LeBlancs. This is, the Sandra. This is a different look for the mid lane Camille.
And it's also a different look for what a team comp in League of Legends is supposed to look like, Papa Smithy, because you've got two split pushes in the Camille and the Fiora, often champions that you're choosing between, not to have both of, and there's no AD carry. So I think 1-3-1 is going to be how DAMWON are going to win this game.
You say that, but it's kind of, is science gone too far? And it's going to be
Maybe.
super hindsight based. Is going to be the, is this the greatest comp or the most terrible comp of all time, right? What I will say is, auto attackers plus a scaling Sona are god tier in the late game, because the on-hit damage that you get from building AP
That is true.
from that Sona Q scales, right? It scales on-hit people who can burst. And the Fiora auto attacker, the Camille auto attacker, gonna be very interesting. 4-1, I guess, but you're right, 1-3-1 because of the double melees. Now, when they actually do group, the Sona can do a lot, but that's a much later thing when Sona hits level 16.
And also, where's the wave clear in the 3 if you've got Sona, Tahm Kench, Sejuani? It's sort of just...
I mean, it's not so good.
Yeah, it's not exactly the best. Let's see how it works. It's in game at number 1. Okay, so we get cheers in game number 2 now, is how I'm assuming things are going to work.
It's first time on the Rift for every team, so even the fans are grouped in that. So we'll wait and see. We'll hold our breath, but it is different. It is a different look. And it's a different look for GenG as well. DWG Gaming, our first carry Sona, as we've mentioned. Nominated poking here. Observers wanting to upskill. And if you're a LCK-only viewer, you wouldn't be aware of the potential for a Sona to go for the Frostmancy strategy. You see Kleptomancy is the keystone. Going to be looking to harass, and it means that good old Thomas Kench will be going for the last hit.
He will, and does have a few more offensive capabilities now.
Oh, he's
after
really
the
offensive
changes.
right now, I agree.
Well, I mean, he's offensive when you see him picked up in the draft, but also the changes that happened weren't all nerfs. Some of it did help him if he was using that Devour in a more aggressive way. So in theory, if you're standing around that lane last hitting, it can potentially work. However, I just feel like Tarek's way better. Like, way, way better.
Well,
in this role.
This is what we see in this game. Should be noted that vertical jungling is always a possibility in games like this, and will be what we see in this game. GenG went for the late invade. They control the bottom side. That means that Life and Ruler can harass away with a bit more impunity, and means that maybe Sona won't be as able to overextend for auto attacks or to look for anything. It also means that Fiora is going to be able to push up, and this is a matchup that she was already really, really strong in, because it's very clear when you can use your riposte and get a big advantage, and it's now with no more nope button like the old Aatrox ult.
And you can see Nuguri is very, very confident in this matchup as well. Has taken the Kleptomancy this time around. Often you see that Grasp the Undying will be taken in a matchup that Fiora doesn't insta-win. This is one that she's happy to insta-win.
And I want to speak about why I feel like Aatrox as this always banned champion might be a bit overstated. And it's because Aatrox's role has changed. When you think of Aatrox in Spring, you think of LS getting very mad, but you think of the fact that you could blind pick a champion that always did something. Against Vladimir, ooh, healing reduction, how lovely.
Yeah.
You think about laning power, okay, very reliable laner, and always had the ultimate to get out of the more stickier situations, right, Atlas? The big change now is that if you try to just power pick it for any lane blind, if you're not getting jungle attention, you die. Remember, as a weak side champion, Aatrox always got to level 6 and then he wasn't going to die because you had to dive him and then had to wait for his revive and then kill him again. Now if he's on the weak side and you dive him, he just dies at us.
He does.
He can't be as flexible as a champion that always skirmished pretty well, always laned pretty well, worked with healing reduction into the champions where that was relevant. Now it's, if you get a kill in the late game team fights, oh boy, do you heal a lot and win a team fight from there. But that's a late game advantage. The actual bread and butter for Aatrox before was generally strong laning. That's no longer where Aatrox is strongest.
Well, we'll see whether CuVee is going to be able to prove us one way or the other, Papa Smithy. But I was in your camp when I read the patch notes, and sort of how I felt, although the buffs to his auto attack were a little bit weird. I thought that they may have been slightly overtuned.
It's one of those things where I feel like he probably still does heal too much in a late game team fight. Like the upside in the late game is still there, but if you ever nerf that, it's not worth the early game trade-offs you made to get that advantage.
Yeah.
And the matchup is always a terror one against Fiora, who beat him in the old Aatrox days.
Yeah, that back when he was incredibly busted. It was almost every variation of Aatrox was beaten by Fiora, no matter what happened. So I'm certainly with you on that front. CuVee has been a man to weather a poor matchup in the past, though. That has been part of his skill set. Of course, 2019 spring wasn't exactly one of those years. However, CuVee does have a rather storied history.
It got better as it went on. I thought he was pretty woeful in the first round of Spring Split, and Roach was playing a lot more than him. Then Roach was playing mid, and look, GenG were just, you know, pretty much just on fire in many different ways. It's now the first day. He's starting as the top laner, which is a good sign of endorsement for him, but if you invest resources in him, Fiora could still turn it around, and if you don't, Fiora will just win. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't around CuVee in game number 1.
Still checking in on the Frostman, seeing how things are going. You can see Rule is pretty comfortable, has gone for the more aggressive choice in picking up the Sheen on first back. We actually saw a very curious first back tier coming out from Jin Air in their first game. They then lost, and Rule has gone with the more winning option here in the Sheen pickup. Speaking of pickups, DAMWON should be freely able to get this Infernal Drake. Peanut was napping a little bit, slightly wrong place, wrong time, and good utilization of the GenG back timing from the bottom side, allowing for that Infernal to go over to DAMWON very easily.
If you're wondering about build path from ShowMaker, he's actually gone double Doran, so a lot of respect here. And obviously, Lissandro's a range versus melee champion. He's going to have a lot going on. Tiamat will be the eventual first item to give a bit of AoE wave pushback, much like a Pike top that we established at MSI. And then from there, just the standard items that you're going to build onto the champion, whatever the lane. Trinity Force will come out at some point, as you would expect. So still going to be about burst. So definitely the role in the mid to late game going to be pretty similar between the Lissandra and the Camille. And if you go CS for CS, seems pretty good to me.
Speaking of going CS for CS, that's exactly what's happening here on this top side, and it feels awful. I think we all know the feeling of going against a champion that's picked up that Kleptomancy, because if you're not killing them in lane and fighting them in lane and stopping them from getting CS, then you're just losing. That's just how it's working. And CuVee, the moment is going even, but you've seen the sacks of gold that Nuguri's been picking up. He's able to go home, gets himself the Tiamat. He'll have a lot of shove now against the AoE push potential of the Aatrox. Things are going to get real rough here for CuVee.
And all matchups deserve discussions. Actually, things going on in every lane. Because we haven't even talked about Sona Tahm Kench, 2 supports in the bot lane.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you about this. What makes it different from the Sona Taric that we've become somewhat used to?
So Sona Taric is a very reliable duo as the game goes on. Because in a team fight, Taric ult means that Sona never has to think about positioning apart from can I flash crescendo them. Can always be a frontliner. Yeah. Can have that 2.5 seconds of invulnerability. Nuguri and CuVee. A couple of love taps between the two. With Tahm Kench, it's very different. Right? You don't have that same guarantee. You do have a Devour, but it does affect how things go. Now, your auras do persist while you're in the belly of Tahm Kench, so that can be relevant. The reason why Sona Taric is good is that Sona with gold in the late game is really, really powerful. We're so used to support Sona with the better part of a Redemption, maybe an Ardent Sensor, and not much more. Scales very well with gold because your aura uptime in the late game is insane with the internal CDR you get from leveling the ultimate. But the reliability of where Sona can stand and not die in a team fight, yes, Tahm Kench brings one thing, but it's not Taric. So because there's not quite that same symbiotic relationship, the laning phase is stronger because Devour in lane is way better than missing a Dazzle, which is what happens with a Taric. But the payoff in the late game is more based on can you actually get value out of Sona's auras, and those auto attackers we discussed could do a big job.
I felt like Tarek also added to the win condition as well in the late game with the fact that you can keep your frontliners alive for so long and they can build more, I guess, glass cannon on champions like this Camille, like the Fiora, and historically the Hecarim's that would be paired with this combo.
And that's a great point, because your divers and also the Sona, who's standing in melee range of the Tarek, would get the benefit. Here, it's a single target devour. It's probably exclusively used onto the Sona, and if it ever goes wrong, you don't have that 2.5-second note button.
However, you do have a note button, and we'll see whether it can be utilized effectively here by DAMWON Gaming. BeryL was certainly the Tahm Kench guy for this team, so if anyone can make it work, it is going to be this guy.
And remember, it was surprising Sona Tarek never happened in Korea, because how do you beat Sona Tarek? IG gave you a masterclass. You dive it, you take it down nice and early, and while Tahm Kench is a little bit different, slightly better in lane, it's still something you want to make the melee champion who's got 58 CS accountable, make the Sona who's just looking for hope accountable. Korea's not necessarily known for that reputation historically. The slower, more methodical style is what Korea's about. So if
and we're talking about GenG here as well. I mean, you don't even need to talk about Korea. You can just say this is GenG and they play slow.
And it's Nuclear and BeryL just farming it out against Ezreal Braum. So that's actually pretty damn good for Sona and Tahm Kench.
I feel like it's almost a stylistic decision to go for this draft and not necessarily something that DAMWON would want to do regardless. I feel like this is a quite anti-GenG style, but I still want to see how it's actually all going to work together as we move into the mid and late games. Because is this composition as a group of 5 going to win any skirmishes? I'm not entirely sure.
They don't have the Sona Tarek, you just win 5v5s button. That isn't there because it is Sona Tahm Kench. However, they do have a Kleptomancy Fiora free farming, and their 4-1 could still be very powerful. Only Baron buff and the lack of wave clear could really feast on that as the game goes on. So if GenG don't get a Baron this game, it's hard to see them winning.
Well, we'll see whether they can get a Baron earlier rather than later as well, because we know that it does feel worse and worse as Sona gets closer and closer to level 16. Having all of those buttons up basically forever is definitely a good thing. No gank to happen here in the mid lane.
We talked about Sejuani Aurelia synergy and the ability to stack up that passive there. Guess what? It's 2 melee champions, so the ability to get that permafrost off when Sejuani shows up is almost instant.
Yeah, there was actually, I believe it was Doublelift that was talking about it in the LCS. The Sejuani comps that have been cropping up. It's why there's been so many Sejuani bans that we've seen globally. A lot of these teams do like to prioritize the Sejuani a lot.
You don't fight at level 2 anymore. You kill Krogs really fast. Cinderhawk got it buffed patches ago.
Yep.
There's a lot of reasons to consider some of these teamfight junglers, and that's exactly the camp that Sejuani falls into.
Canyon, see whether he can do his best Tarzan impression, where you can just play Sejuani at any point and make the champion look busted. That was certainly Tarzan towards the Kesper Cup.
Well, we slowed down, Atlas. We had some action in our first series today, but
I was going to say we slowed down from what?
Here's the LCK
the huge
we know and
speed of the first 10 minutes of this match, where nothing happened.
But DAMWON's embracing it. It's eventually we win. It's kind of between the Sona Tahm Kench and the Fiora versus Aatrox, the decision they've come to, and it's kind of onus on GenG to see Lissandra showing up in lanes, to dive, to do things. Right now, we're playing with some hearts out there. We're fluttering, Atlas.
We are. Yep. Song of Celerity is going to come out. That's going to mean that Nuclear is going to be absolutely fine. Canyon gets hit by a Q from Peanut, but that is about that. And oh my goodness, a turret plate. It's a thing.
Baby.
A thing happened, Papa Smithy. And it was Fiora winning the Fiora Aatrox matchup, so we have learned still nothing actually this game.
Do you reckon any pros actually use the DJ Sona music
from CuVee
during the pro games?
Which one's your favorite? Are you a red DJ Sona song guy? Or?
I actually don't have much of an opinion on that one. I just know that it exists. I just wondered if the mechanic was ever used. I mean, ProView shows us that people do actually talk mess in old chat, so
yeah,
I'd love to learn, you know, little things like that.
I don't know. I mean, it's all based on which button you decide to press, right? And at the moment, I think Nuclear is doing my favorite, which is like the more like ambient EDM type style, because I prefer not to have frantic music when I'm playing League, you know?
Well, I think the frantic music might help this game.
Yeah, maybe. Well, it would certainly help now. At the moment, we've definitely got Nuclear's soundtrack on. I listen to Gypsy Kings when I play League of Legends.
Really?
Yeah, it helps keep me zen.
There you go.
ShowMaker's going to take a fair bit of damage here as Kuzan claws him. But Aftershock's going to find nothing, and he's just going to clean up the minion wave. ShowMaker gets first rotation over to the second Infernal Drake here. 800 gold is going to the lead from DAMWON Gaming, and I actually thought here at about 13.5 minutes that would be higher, given the fact that they have double Kleptomancy. But Kuzan's going to face check, actually moves out of the way. The Hextech sweep.
If you want to be intelligible about how this early game was played, obviously it was pretty much a farm fest. GenG should have soloed the Drake sometime 8 minutes earlier than now.
Yeah.
Because they were against Sona and Tom Kench. Now they might actually have to fight for it. It's down to about 1,500, but it seems like DWG Gaming don't want it.
Yep, they're happy to trade all the turret plates on the top side of the map, and when Fiora is part of your win condition, that is certainly an understandable thing to do. Teleport is going to come in, but the damage may have been done here, as that is a lot of plates over to Nuguri just before they fall down.
Nuguri's ready to just solo kill Aatrox soon.
He's ready to solo win the game, I think.
Oh,
it's real scary stuff here. As you can see, he's absolutely no mundos given whatsoever. Ravenous Hydra is completed, so he's happy to go in for whatever trade he wants.
Nuguri is insanely massive already, and that's just from farming. DWG are actually chasing off on the bot side as well. Nuguri decides he deserves a red buff, and, you know, I wouldn't trifle with the man.
Nope. No, I'm never going to say no to any Fiora in that state in my game ever.
A little stats update here on the bottom left, showing runes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Kenny going to pay a visit here as well, as Peanut also shows up. I believe was in Vision, but he's going to head over to his wolves, is Canyon.
Little stat boops we have in the bottom right. Some extra healing on the side of the Fiora. A lot of shopping trips missed. Like ShowMaker must be sitting on a mountain of have Merc Treads for a while. All of that is in the pockets of Nuguri. 480 gold, Kleptomancy. He has a casual 1,500 gold.
He does. Meanwhile, I mean, Ruler also has a casual 1,500 gold lead, and nothing has happened on the bottom side of the map.
I mean, you do have to equate it, though, so it's 4,800 altogether against 8,900, so it's about the same. I think it's 8,800 to 8,900 because Tom Kench has been CSing so hard.
That's true, that's true.
So it's about even bot side. The gold lead in this game is purely from
Nuguri.
From Nuguri.
And that's mental, because we haven't even had a first blood yet, and you can see the gold lead is only 1,000 gold. So we're talking about Nuguri as being ridiculously far ahead. It's a very different story than the ridiculously far aheads that are maybe happening at 15.5 minutes in your games of League of Legends, everyone at home, is CuVee, speaking of which, is going to be having a bit of a rough time. Not going to find too much value with the old riposte, but that's because that doesn't matter.
Let me introduce new Aatrox in lane.
Yeah.
You just kill him.
Well, Kuzan thought that the teleport might help.
No, but the teleport with old Aatrox works perfectly, right? Because Aatrox is kneeling, and then Lissandra catches someone. With new Aatrox, he just dies.
Yep. Well, thankfully, CuVee had listened to you, Papa, and he was like, well, I'll help prove your point there, Papa Smithy.
I mean, Nuguri would have played this matchup anyway, because, you know, he was loving the skill matchup before. Now you just, now you win harder, which, if GenG continue to do nothing elsewhere, they will just lose the game because of Fiora versus Phoenix.
Yep. It's been a little bit their problem for quite some time. So we're hoping to see some change, and you can see Kuzan actually made his way up there towards the top side of the map, but if you're going to play someone new in the mid lane, I played with one champion that Fly was able to win on. He actually had an extremely high win rate on the Lissandra for a team that didn't do a lot of winning in Spring.
This definitely, with how fast the lock-ins came in and the conspicuous Aatrox availability, is we got him right where we want him. Yeah. Situation right now for DWG. However,
that's a big flash in. They want the Tom Kench. They are going to be able to get the slowdown, but the cleanse is going to be there. BeryL creating some distance, and Nuclear just keeping him alive for so long. Nuguri, he smells blood. Canyon is here as well. Peanut. A good kick is going to come in there as Nuguri is slowed down, and the Arctic Assault is not going to land onto life. He is going to be the first one to go down, and DWG have 5 underneath the turret. That is going to be that. Nuguri gets out of turret range. They take down another one, and GenG are watching everything fall apart.
GenG just didn't know how bad it was because the lack of teleport on CuVee. Teleported back to top side and not lose the turret, and guess what? They bring the Fiora down bot lane. She's now super fed, and ShowMaker says maybe I'll kill Aatrox this time.
Yeah, it was a really cute knock up there, actually, from CuVee as he looks for some more onto ShowMaker. He's taking a lot of minion damage, but he's got a Ravenous Hydra as well. They are just staying alive for a real long time in these melee matchups, Papa.
Hail Hydra, says DWG Gaming in this particular one.
Oh, another one. CuVee is really winding these knock-ups well.
I like that you said whining, because yanking the chain is a pretty good one with Aatrox as well. So he's got a lot of fun turns of phrase going on.
Oh, especially when he's going to be playing like that as well. Saving him quite effectively. Didn't, of course, underneath the turret earlier on, but see whether CuVee can be the man to pull them back in. Of course, if Nuguri is just nowhere near him, I think is going to be how it's going to have to be played.
You wonder what GenG should have done. I alluded to it before. Around the bot side, it's Sona, Tom Kench, the melee champion CSing, and it was a 5-minute spawn Infernal Drake. Stack some Drakes, amp the pressure, make this game fast. DAMWON Gaming are doing kind of the next level on the Korean style. They're not playing fast to bring up the overall pace. They're saying, you can't play fast. We're going to take our time in this game.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like the Korean style or something like that. DAMWON are just playing anti-GenG, and it's really beautiful to see. A little bit upsetting that GenG haven't changed their playstyle, but it is still very early, ladies and gentlemen. Remember this, that GenG still need to acclimatize to so many new additions to this squad. Probably the most changes that have been made for any other squad so far this season was GenG from spring to summer.
And they would not have scrimmed against this entire 5-man comp.
Yeah.
To be honest, DAMWON Gaming didn't need to go all in. At the Camille mid, it was like a afterthought in this game. Could have been the coolest thing in the game, but here it's just kind of happening. CuVee pops the ult as a note button. He's leaving. That's a Sivir ult for him. And, well, the turret goes down, and the rich get richer.
Yep, I don't think CuVee needed to press both of his oh heck buttons.
That's true.
But he did. And that's when you really think an oh heck. And I can't blame him for that.
But now he doesn't have those for when Fiora walks up. That's going to be bad.
Do you know what I'm feeling, Papa Smithy? I'm feeling like this is a in ruler we trust game if you're GenG, and I just don't know. I don't know whether I was ready for that to be the GenG that we have still here in spring. There needs to be more from this squad, but I mean, he does have his Trinity Force. He does have a lot of farm. It's just it's a toughie.
I mean, you read the items only on the Fiora at 20 minutes, and you're like, oh, crap. You know, this feels like the enemy team got the Smurf in the top lane, and you can try out your best options, and you're going to really have to make it happen quickly, otherwise Fiora is just going to win the game alone.
Yeah. Okay, well, Nuguri's now on the bottom side of the map, so GenG know where the danger is. Now, as soon as he moves off the map, that's when GenG need to be scared, no matter where they are. Peanut going for an interesting second item on his Lee Sin. It's not the Black Cleaver, it's not Guardian Angel. It's a Warden's Mail.
It's a bit of a budget Sejuani Randuin's rush on the Lee Sin. I mean, getting picks is a lovely idea, but it's already hard enough to get a kick onto a Fiora or a Camille. They're going to be the ones splitting. The dream is, I guess, Tom Kench with Sona in the belly. The Black Cleaver wouldn't have done anything here. The Randuin's feels terrible because no one's building Critical Strike.
Yeah.
But he's just trying to play make as best he can, I guess.
And trying his best to slow down this composition as well, which is why Randuin is going to be the option. It's that active that he's building it for, not for the ability to
like what else
reduce the crit damage.
I guess Dead Man's Plate? You know?
I mean, like, there's something to be said for GA, theoretically, but
then you have a BF sword now and you die instantly.
yeah. No, it's not good. You're exactly right. Kuzan going to make his way down towards the bottom side, though. Happy to go up against ShowMaker. CuVee not happy to go up against Nuguri whatsoever.
No, he can dive him under turret and kill him if he had perfect vision on the enemy.
Yeah, or if he felt like it.
How much of a health bar lead does CuVee need to 1v1 the Fiora?
I think if Nuguri has over 450 health, he wins every time.
I'm with you, actually. About 450 is the line.
Yeah.
That's
but
a scary
400, CuVee, you got this sprint. It's in the bag. It's in the bag.
With Riposte available is what we're
Yes, of course. And Ravenous Hydra, of course, is what we're thinking.
All right, we're sending everyone top.
Is 3 going to be enough? World Ender already popped as Nuguri moves, and CuVee decides he wants to get the heck out of there. Grand Challenge is down, and he flashes after CuVee. Not going to be able to get too much more. There's the Riposte for the last hit, but he can't get onto the healing, and Peanut's going to kick him even further away. That's the shutdown, and that is worth it. Going 1-for-1, that is worth it when it's Nuguri's Fiora.
You're only sure he was going to die when that death confirmation came up. There may have been different ways to 1v3 there. That's how strong the Fiora is. Now, DAMWON Gaming can't do a lot in the meantime. It's on the top side of the map, there's no Baron to turn onto. Trying to siege a bit, and Camille's on the inner turret involved.
Yep, thankfully Ezreal and Braum pretty good at defending a turret, so they are able to do that. And this is what we were saying. I mean, the siege capabilities of Tahm-Kench Sejuani's Sona isn't exactly the best, apart from its ability to keep itself alive.
Does Nuguri go for a QSS? The answer is no. We see a BS sword towards, you would assume, a Guardian Angel, but it could be a Bloodthirster.
Surgeon.
Or Spirit Surgeon is the one that I was getting to, and I think that's the one he'll probably go to, because if he had a couple more riposts, there's going to be a couple more kills.
It just feels like the most Nuguri item
Absolutely
possible.
my favorite moment was when CuVee went in and then instantly turned around and tried to run away as he realized the predicament he was in. Got the first kill here, and if he had got that sustain field earlier with a QSS, I think there were more kills coming in. So nice shutdown. The gold is on to Kuzan. I mean, even if double magic pen now, plus the other core items done.
Oh wait, is Nuguri going for a Bloodthirster? He's got an extra Vamp Scepter as well. Maybe he's going to the ultimate 1v1 build.
It could be a Bloodthirster.
Yeah.
Bloodthirster's my first thought. Spirit Shoujin's pretty core on Fiora to get her 40% CDR. I feel like he's going to have all of the above eventually.
I think, yeah. I don't think a defensive choice is going to be coming in here as a teleport. Speaking of which, is going to come down from ShowMaker. That is going to get 5 members towards the bottom side as Nuguri has the grand challenge. Infernal Chains aren't going to work. Redemption is going to be in there as he's going to have to use the riposte relatively soon. Tahm-Kench comes down. That's going to defend Nuguri, but he's taken so much free damage as DAMWON move back over to this Mountain Drake, and GenG have the man advantage as they move on in.
Predictably, Nuguri pushing up alone. That's the way he plays. They're engaging the forward.
Yeah, they're going to dive on forward. The Hextech Ultimatum comes down into the backline, and Ruler is still alive, landing so much damage here. First, it's going to be ShowMaker falling. Riposte comes in, but Ruler, he's out of that pit. Peanut as well isn't in there any longer as Kuzan is going to go Golden True Shot Barrage. Lands onto BeryL and GenG. Can they actually do it? CuVee grabs one, is going to get taken down in the end, and now Nuguri may have bitten off more than he can chew. He has. It's the Frozen Thralls. They're doing so much damage. And Nuclear, can you get out of the way? I don't think so, as Ruler's just waiting for an arcane shift. He moves pretty fast with that Song of Celerity, but that is Mountain Drake falling for GenG, and a possible turnaround.
DWG Gaming don't have all their I's dotted, their T's crossed. They try to take it with the Grand Challenge down and a 4-man hard engage when Fiora wasn't close. This was truly grouped with those auras applying to the Fiora. They would have had this one, but if you watch it, a lot of clumped members, but not a lot of damage. ShowMaker is in stasis, Fiora's not there, and Sona was on the outside.
Yep, Nuclear, you can see, doing all of his buttons as often as he possibly can, but it just wasn't quite enough, and I felt like Ruler being able to escape like that and then so effectively make his way back into the fight was very important.
The last Frozen Throw was required, otherwise that could have still been a Fiora turn. A lot of things had to go against DWG Gaming for them to lose out there. They're fighting as 5 when they have a lane that no one can answer in the Fiora, but their execution on the 5v5 also left a lot to be desired.
Well, Blade of the Ruin King is now done for Ruler, and with 3 items, that is real scary. I mean, Nuguri's 3 items, yes, I admit, are better. Absolutely. Bloodthirster now done, but CuVee's at least got 2. Death's Dance is now done. And GenG are showing that 80 carries are pretty good when it comes to late game team fighting, and if you want to have an 80 carry player, Ruler's a pretty good option as well.
Completely get that theory. My instinct is that if DWG Gaming actually set up correctly, even Ruler and having an 80 carry advantage won't be enough, but I'm ready for the pedal to hit the road. I'm ready to see some actual inroads in 5v5s here, because it's one thing to think, it's another thing to see and appreciate.
Yep. Well, here on the bottom side, I'm always scared that CuVee's just going to die. As Nuguri comes down and lunges at this minion wave to make sure it dies. BeryL and Nuclear are going to be okay. You're just trying to defend against GenG, and GenG playing very slowly. 3,000 gold though. Not too much of a lead, and Mountain Drake is going to be the next one that's up. One of them already in the hands of GenG, even on the Infernal Drake count, which is certainly good news if you're a GenG fan.
Death Dance is done. Remember that interacts with the amped healing on the ultimate. So there still is insane teamfight potential from this Aatrox. If he can TP into a fight, this could lead to a base race scenario. Kind of in more futures than not. It does feel like it's very likely to happen with just how much Aatrox doesn't want to be cooped in a 1v1. A lot of true damage on the pit from Nuguri that Death Dance won't interact with.
Executioner's calling is finally completed here from someone, and CuVee needed it a long time ago, just didn't quite have the budget to put that one together.
Does have his passive, and now Executioner's calling, so the on-hit level of healing reduction is now reliable rather than just in shorter bursts, but completely agree. Chances of being dived without it in the 1v1 are 100%, so at least dissuades in some ways. 3,800 gold lead among the top laners, but not every fed Fiora split pushes to the win. Doesn't always happen, Atlas, so they've already made one mistake, DAMWON Gaming against GenG. They make another one, who's to say GenG don't pull off an upset victory.
And in this 4v4, away from the Fiora, this is an even game between GenG and DAMWON. And speaking of which, GenG are feeling confident as they move over towards this Baron Pit redemption. He's going to spot them out as all 5 members are grouped up on both sides. GenG going for a bit of a pincer play here, but Canyon's going to avoid all of those skill shots. Rift Scuttler is going to be chased into the open arms of DAMWON Gaming, and that is going to be an ultimate going wide. True Shot Barrage is going to tag only Canyon, as Nuclear is still threatening with that crescendo. Canyon just waiting for his ways in. There are so many wards. ShowMaker going to get the first stun here as life. He's going to get healed up. Kuzan as well diving into this fight. Canyon getting kicked out, but Nuguri's at full health. You have to pay attention to that because it's so scary. Great safeguard to get Peanut out of the way, and it is going to be CuVee, the sacrificial lamb. The fight was looking okay for GenG to begin with, but DAMWON are going to assert their dominance in the end.
But it's a deathball comp, not like one we've seen before, Atlas, because no one can walk up and frontline against double true damage melee champions, Camille and Fiora, with double Trinity Force stun. They just burst whoever walks up. And speaking of burst, remember Baron? He's gone.
Yep, absolutely. And Nuclear, he's just happy to wander around the mouth of this pit, making sure that everyone is absolutely okay. The heals for days, and even the extra damage available from the Q.
The Sandra self-ults, everyone else just dies, because it's double Trinity Force champions who do true damage on whoever frontline. Aatrox can't be that frontliner anymore until you get the first kill. The first kill goes the way of DAMWON. The future ones do as well, and no one can get to Sona. She's just healing and providing auras from the back.
It's actually very close to CuVee getting himself to relative safety, but like you say, the World Ender, it's just not the same button that it used to be.
But is this the first time ever where true melee carries are the ones who are carrying? This in League of Legends, range has always been a problem. Melee carries have never been the way. It's always been 80 carries with a smattering of juggernauts and some melee carries. Melee carries use your dirty word of Master Yi outside of solo queue. Whereas in this case, they've actually put together a comp where the melee carries are very, very relevant.
Yeah. We should bring back the Master Yi funnel comp. Let's go.
MVP got relegated already. That's gone.
And then Ian moved over to
should make a correction.
as well.
There's
Real
still
sad.
a healing interaction on that Aatrox passive. It's no longer the healing reduction. It's just the healing amplification.
Yes.
Got a bit confused there. So no healing reduction available during the lane. Gives even more explanation on why it was such a free farm lane for Nuguri. He hasn't bought that Sphere of Shojin yet, and it's a lot of BF sword items for Nuguri.
Oh, you can see Peanut was desperate to try and find that Sonic Wave onto Nuclear, but couldn't actually get it there. Man, I struggle to say his name so much. I don't know why. Is it? I don't think it's my Australian accent, because you have one as well.
Which one?
Nuclear. His name.
That's true. I mean,
I often say nuclear because
that's a very Aussie thing.
I think it might be. I'm just terrible at it. So if it triggers you guys at home, like, I'm really sorry. I'm aware of it as well. I hear it happen and it triggers me. I just can't, for some reason, make my mouth do it correctly.
I think it's just one of your parts of your charm, Alice. So.
Just saying stuff wrong.
Yeah.
All right. It's not bad. I am very good at saying stuff. He's going to be in the mid lane, though, at the moment, just keeping everyone alive. And we've got that 1-3-1 that we were talking about earlier on in full effect. 8,000 gold going to the lead here for DAMWON Gaming.
It's also a double Trinity Force 1-3-1s, where they blow up turrets just as fast as they blow up that first front line.
And, like, the middle of the pack as well. I mean, we mentioned the fact that they don't have necessarily the most wave clear, but what they do have is staying power here in this lane.
Now, the three isn't strong,
so
like we outlined a couple of times. The Sona Tahm Kench Sejuani doesn't really do much, apart from Lichbane autos onto the turret. There's not a lot of wave clear, but we said GenG needs to find a Baron. They're dealing with one. To their credit, haven't lost the base yet, but it feels inevitable.
Yep, that's a grand challenge on to Kuzan. He leaves. He says, I don't want this challenge. That is not the challenge that I signed up for, and they break 2 turrets at once. Life almost has his life broken as well, as he's going to have to flash to get himself out of the way. It's decent damage from Ruler, but honestly, the damage has been done on DAMWON's side. They break the base all 3 spots. They've also got 2 inhibitors down, 20 seconds on this Baron. If DAMWON can keep pushing here, if they can get any picks. Kuzan diving into the backline. He's the one that's looking to try and get work done. He goes gold and he tries to proto belt out, but he's just dead. DAMWON playing it slowly but surely, and they grab the Lee Sin like he was an afterthought. It's all too easy. Triple kill so far for ShowMaker. Make it a quadra kill. Can he get the penta ruler? And a penta kill in day 1 of LCK Summer. Welcome, DAMWON Gaming.
Living up to his name, pentakill on the first Camille mid lane. We thought it was just a bit of color on something in the LCK. It's just something that people are playing around with in solo queue. No, they have a strategy around it. The double melee carry comp comes up big.
And look at ShowMaker's face here as well. He is absolutely stoked, but more surprised rather than anything else, as I believe this gentleman on the top side of the map was a large proponent as to why DAMWON looked so comfortable winning that game. It's not often that you see games where the strategy is just better from one of the teams, and this was. They entered a late game where they were both on even footing and felt like GenG just didn't have too many options.
But honestly, DWG Gaming knew exactly what they wanted to do, and as far as we can tell, they knew exactly what GenG wanted to do. They locked in their picks instantly. They had an answer for the Aatrox that was conspicuously left open. GenG thought they won something, but very quickly they had a dud, and the Aatrox was just snowballed on again and again.
Yep, that's exactly right. We knew that it was going to be a decent matchup for the Fiora, but I didn't quite expect it to be that easy for DAMWON. Just felt like GenG played some lanes a bit and then lost. Just wasn't felt like the most GenG composition that you could put together minus Tahm Kench. And then they played very slowly, very methodically. There were some moments there where things happened, but it didn't feel like they were trying to get into the driver's seat. They weren't trying to innovate. And DWG, on the other hand, are completely the opposite, innovating with 2 melee carries as well as having this Tahm Kench Sona combination that actually worked relatively well.
Every GenG trademark was on display here and used against them. Everything they are was subverted by DWG Games. Amazing prep from DWG. New stuff that works specifically against the opponent's tendencies. Really nice look from them, and we talked about GenG as dark horses. DWG finished 4th, but they were well off the pace of Griffin and SKT at the top. What if they develop just as much they did over spring, over the offseason, and are just a contender for LCK Summer 2019?
Well, we know their coaching staff are certainly world-class, so we'll see whether they are going to be able to get everyone together. I know that they were very happy to have the experience of the spring split, and now you can imagine that Summer is all about getting to Worlds and showing exactly what they're capable of. And if it's like this, especially in the draft, as well as the way they executed this game, things are looking good for DWG Gaming, but GenG, I'm still feeling like there's a lot of the same issues that we saw earlier on.
And I just need to know, is it panic button? Is it, all right, Fly's in there, we're changing players, GenG have a lot of options, panic stations could be in? I'm hoping they stick with what worked, and the reason they picked these 5 was from a large sample size. From the sample size of 1, GenG were demolished.
They were, but it is a best of 3. They can come back in game number 2, and we'll see whether they're going to be able to after this very short break. Will we see Rich for the first time? Will Roach head towards the top side of the map? We'll have to wait for a short break before we find out.
More questions than answers, Atlas, but not the longest break before we get those answers.
나 뿔칠게 그냥. 천천히. 아주 좋아 천천히. 나이스 가자.
지나갈게.
야 하트. 야 펜타 주던가. 야 펜타 가던가. 펜타 주던가. 펜타 주던가. 나이스. 펜타 나이스.
이렇게 힘들게 기냐?
아니 세주가 좀 미드에 많이 있었던 것 같은데?